Honesty feels like the most natural to us. It's how our relationship started. Honesty was really important. It's also the way I prepared for the blessing. I came from working on myself through high noon programs and restoring my sexual integrity. And for me, it was very clear from the very beginning that I'll have to be very honest about where I'm coming from, where I'm at, what I'm still working on, all out in the open, so that the other person clearly knows what they're dealing with, right? But even in our couple, the last 4 years of being together, honesty has always felt the most natural, as in we'll share with each other what's going on. We really prioritized sharing truths about ourselves, whether that's where we're at emotionally or where we're at with our thoughts, with our energy, and how experiences were for each other, and to let each other know where we're at.
Hello and welcome
to the High Noon Couples podcast,
where we empower blessed couples
to deepen the love, fostering mutual pleasure, connection, and joy.
So let's dive in.
Welcome back, everyone, to a new High Noon Couples podcast episode. Today we have Andi and Karen, with who we're going to have hopefully a really nice conversation, but I don't have any doubts with that because you guys are really nice. And and today's topic are the 5 High Noon virtues. So honesty, grace, integrity, accountability, and courage, and how we see that in our blessing, in our relationship with each other. So before we hit it off, I would like you two to just shortly introduce yourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Daria. So we are Andi and Karen Pock. I am Andi.
By the way.
The other way around. And we've been blessed now for 4 years. We just, 2 weeks ago, celebrated our 4th anniversary. That was nice because we felt like, 4 years is
we made it.
That feels like more of a substantial number. Yeah. We still feel very young as a couple, but 4 as a number to us it feels young, but I think if we mention to people like peers kind of outside our community, then it's like, wow, you've been, married first of all, and then 4 years on top of that is an achievement, I think. So we're kind of aware that it's an achievement, but also we're still a young couple. Yeah, I work for High Noon full time right now, and then
I'm directing this program called Empower in Europe.
Yep, and we live in Germany. I'm German. Karen's American.
Japanese, American.
Yeah, unfortunately, we live so far away from each other. Like, even though we also in Germany, but it's like, I think almost 5 hours apart.
Yeah, 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Gießen to Munich.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and also like agreeing to have a little, how to say?
Conversation.
No,
discussion.
Peak. There was anyways, never mind. Have a conversation about that because I feel like.
Thank you for allowing us to peek into your private life.
Like that. Okay. No, that sounds so weird when you say it that way.
We'll give it,
you're welcome. Yeah.
You can start again.
No, it's actually funny. But,
okay.
But so what I wanted to say was that, that when I think of the High Noon virtues, it sounds so abstract. It is so, okay, what are they? It's honesty, it's grace, it's integrity. What is integrity actually, as well as accountability in German? There's not even a proper word for it. You can kind of describe it. And then courage. And just now before we started to meet here is that we were talking a little bit, okay, what is it actually? Or where do we see them also in our relationship? So the first question to start off the conversation is, where do you think, when you think about your relationship, which of the 5 High Noon virtues feels most natural to you?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah, I think this question was really clear for us. Both of us mentioned honesty. Honesty feels like the most natural to us. And it's how our relationship started. I think this is how we approached our matching process with each other from the very beginning, just with honesty. For me, honesty was really important, that I lead with honesty. It's also the way I prepared for the blessing. And then, I came from the world of kind of working on myself through high noon programs and restoring my sexual integrity. And for me, it was very clear from the very beginning that I'll have to be very honest about where I'm coming from, where I'm at, what I'm still working on. And yeah, that's just all out in the open and known, so that the other person clearly knows what they're dealing with, right? When talking with me. But even in our couple and like the last 4 years of being together, honesty has always felt the most natural, as in we'll share with each other what's going on. And I think we really prioritized sharing with each other truth is about ourselves, whether that's where we're at emotionally, or where we're at with our thoughts, with our energy, and how experiences were for each other, to let each other know where we're at. And yeah, I've asked you several times, right? Also, how much. So, honesty can be daily topics, like topics that it's not hard to be honest about, right? That's one thing. And then, but then honesty also applied for us in topics like sexual integrity, right? And if we had the conversation about, well, how much do you want me to be honest with you? How much do you want to know when it comes to, at the beginning, it wasn't really clear how much more will I have to work on my sexual integrity. And we kind of had to see, but you always mentioned that you always felt much closer when we're honest.
Since I think it takes a lot of courage to share about something that, yeah, for Andy, like he was working on still. And even now when something comes up and like the topic of also sexual integrity, he brings it up no matter how like big or small it is. And then sometimes you ask like, was that like too much or something? Like, was that too, yeah, was it too much to share about this? And I always say no, because yeah, I think honesty is really helpful, so that, because sometimes you think what you're sharing, you kind of make it a bigger deal than maybe it is sometime. And then, yeah, I guess I'm reassuring that no, it's not that big of a deal, that because you can share it with me, and it doesn't have to become a bigger deal in your head. Like, I'd rather you share with me than you overthink, like to yourself about, oh, I'm such a bad person because I, had this dream about something bad and, something like that. Like, I'd rather there be honesty than, to have something hidden and you kind of like dwell on it and think about, yeah, how bad of a person you are with, if you're not honest about, yeah, what comes up in daily life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate with that a lot. Like, I think it's like what it's pretty similar for you two, like being very honest from the very beginning on, like with Basti, with SSA, and then for me having my own past, not being in a church, and being very honest about that. And then I feel like also for like what you shared, Andy, is being so honest also takes a lot of courage. What you also said, Karen, right? To let the other person see, let the other person see you, and I felt so many times so scared during the matching time when we shared each other's faults and so on. And then I also can relate with that, what you said, Karen, on, no, I want to hear it, and that you don't think about it too long. And when we hold it back too long, it actually can also create hurt. I remember that when Basti was doing something and then he didn't share it because he didn't want to hurt me. But then at the end, it hurt more that he took so long to share it than if he would have done just right away and wouldn't have taken so long to share.
Yeah. I think you can also, or I took that as a lesson for if something happens where I feel, okay, this action needs to be shared immediately, it feels much easier then to share that than to realize, okay, this could actually happen, to become a situation where I don't share, I don't know, that I watch porn and then I wouldn't share that the next time again because it worked the first time. And and then the next time, and that would be like, that really could happen to be a really bad situation in every circumstance, like, right?
It creates kind of a condition on like a bad condition, basically.
Yeah. So I always appreciated if there was a, like, let's say masturbated, and then Daria, I told her maybe 1 or 2 days later because I felt like something is between us and I couldn't really feel like free around her. And then I told her, and then she would be very, I guess, sad that I didn't tell you, right?
Mm.
And then I realized, okay, this is not just about me masturbating. This is about you feeling that I can't trust you and I didn't want to trust you. And that is a much bigger problem, right?
I guess.
No, not I guess. It really,
Yes.
in that moment, it really was a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you were super sad and I was feeling I'm going down a slippery slope. And yeah. So yeah. What you said is very relatable to Andi, where you said you worked on yourself and the things you were going through and still are going through, that you're willing to share that with her is very encouraging to me and encouraging to others that are on the same path. And it's very valuable to be able to share that and to feel free to share that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I would add that it built trust between each other, and the kind of trust that, I mean, what I realized, the kind of trust that I can trust that when I share, I trust that Karen will receive it with her best intention, right? And that there won't be, I know her to be a person that doesn't retaliate if I had done a mistake. I mean, and that's just, by the time we got blessed, I wasn't struggling with porn anymore per se. I think when we got matched, the beginning, masturbation was still a little bit an issue here and there, but just in general, either that or you mentioned even simple things like that are not necessarily my mistake, but I've had a weird dream or a weird sexual dream, and do I feel comfortable to share that for the sake of letting you know where I'm at, but then also just for the sake of, that we don't feel like there's something in between us, distance that prevents us from sharing. So honesty for the sake of, I would say, intimacy, feeling closer to each other. That is something, I would, might feel embarrassed about a weird dream I had or a worry I have about, I don't have an example right now, but how she would receive it. Will you make fun of it, or will there be rejection? But by being honest, by speaking just the truth about myself and how I feel, and then vice versa too, that we can learn about each other, that we're people we will always give our best to be understanding towards each other, but also call each other up to what we had promised each other, our standard or our goal. Yeah, it's like out of line with what we had promised each other or said we would do. Well, and I guess that's going into accountability. That
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
because of honesty, that's allowing us to actually hold each other accountable. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can also see that for us when there was a period of time at the beginning of this year where I was kind of stressing out for certain things of work, and then like we didn't spend consciously time together. We were kind of roommates. Like during the day we were doing both our stuff. He was doing his woodwork or being at work, proper work. And I was doing work, and then at the evening we were coming together. We're just watching TV and not really spending conscious time together.
We were non-sexual beings in that time.
I mean, a little bit, but it was not that great. And so I noticed actually, I noticed, okay, we are not spending time consciously together. So I was calling that out. I was like, hey, let's try to spend consciously time together. Either like put our phones away and
Play games in the
playing
evenings.
games again. Exactly, as well as going for walks or having like a funny conversation. Or, one time he was just sharing like, okay, it sounds really stupid, but he shared the gossip of what's going on in his practice.
Oh, yeah.
And that was so funny. It was so funny to listen to. I felt like I'm talking to a sister to share some gossip.
We never talk.
Never do that, actually.
Like that. And that one colleague of mine, she dumped everything on me on that evening. And then I was like, okay, I have to share someone. I told Daria.
And That was really fun, and it's like it created some connection, and then we were like, okay, we need to do that more often, not just once every few days, but doing something where we spend consciously time together, and by keeping each other accountable for that, doing that, it created more intimacy, created more connection, and I also noticed then the sexual intimacy became so much better again because of that, and I felt also in this way I guess it's also courage as well. So yeah, so that's relatable.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like also there's definitely like we also reached that point where we were just like living our routine like life. I mean, for every couple that's probably comes in a lot of phases, like year after year, you just doing your job or school or whatever. And I really like the point of kind of remembering your intention, especially like the blessing is such a core point of our movement, like how we commit and what we're committing to is really different. And then I feel like over time, you can kind of forget about what we originally committed to. Like it's different from other couples. Like we're not getting married because of like, oh, he's rich, so I want to get married to him. It's like really founded on deep, point, which was like we marry to expand like God's lineage and change our, future descendants. And it's such a, I don't know, grandiose thing. And then like in your everyday life, you kind of forget about it because you just have to live, you have to go grocery shopping and you have to clean the dishes and stuff. So yeah, I feel like um, it's kind of come up for us in a more deeper topic of like having children, because also in our movement, you have the first blessing and then obviously the second blessing, you multiply. And then, I think we revisited that topic like recently, also at the beginning of the year about, what do we think about children? Because from the beginning of our blessing, we were like, after 3 years of our blessing, we would start having a child. Like we would have a child after 3 years. But now it's been like 4 years. And then Andy sat down and we talked about it. Like he brought it up. What do you think about children? Because, we said 3 years after the blessing, we would start having children. But for me, that stirred up a lot of fear, actually, this topic, which I didn't think it would. Like it's such a natural part of the principle, like, after you get married, you have children. But for me, when I think about the topic, I had a lot of, fear around it that, oh, I'm not ready, or, oh, I'm not, I feel like my life will completely like flip upside down. But for Andy, his life will just continue on in the high noon universe and things like this. So like, I didn't realize that would come up for me until we had that conversation. And in a way, Andy kept me accountable, but also keep to my word, like in terms of integrity. Like, do you remember we said that 3 years ago? And I guess it just made me think that sometime, even what we committed to years ago, it is still relevant, but sometimes it can change, like according to like our life circumstance. Like I didn't know I would be, moving to Germany and doing empower stuff and traveling a lot, or that Andy would be, not doing university and doing high noon full time. Like so many things kind of changed that it was really nice to be kept accountable for our original intention and to kind of live intentionally again, like in our daily life. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, what you started the topic, what it brought up for us was the question of what does integrity as a couple look like? And then for us, integrity as a blessed couple. And it came up in the form of, the conversation of having children.
Yeah. So, we kind of had to like revisit that and like live more intentionally, as in a way, like I realized I need to grow myself. Like we're developing on a lot of other aspects of our blessing. Like we're sharing the blessing with others. And educating people and helping other couples and stuff, but there are still parts of the blessing where we can still develop. And it was nice to like look at that from the perspective of our original commitment. Yeah. And living intentionally in our daily life.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Like that conversation was at the beginning of the year, right?
Actually, last year. I mean, we started having that conversation last year. And then since then, it's been reoccurring.
Mm. Right. And how do you feel now? Over a year now?
Not a year yet. So
Oh,
it's
like
been
half a
maybe
year.
half a year. We've been talking about this. How do we feel now? So it was interesting, yeah, because I guess our experience, and it seems like, I mean, it's not uncommon for other couples, right? I mean, it's one of the very big decisions that as a couple we have to make. Family life and when to have children. And then, yeah, we're in a situation, one of us feels ready, says I'm ready. And I don't even know if we really had a child right now. Maybe they would just flip and I'd be like, oh, shoot, I said I'm ready, but whoa, now it's really happening. And then one is a little like for one of us, Karen shared more fear came up and more just hesitation. And it just looks different from what we originally thought it would look like. But now it's become more of it was unclear. When the conversation first arose last year, it created a lot of confusion and unclarity because I guess we weren't really sure what page we were on because we had just our original commitment. We want to start roughly after 3 years of having been blessed. And it came up, and then, yeah, as you said, stuff came up that you didn't know would come up, right? Fears and also stuff in our relationship, right? To like work on. And for me, it was hard for you to communicate that because I think you were still figuring out what's actually going on. Why is there fear? And so for me, it just brought up these questions. Well, I'm not sure what we're talking about. What's the fear? Is it me, or do you actually not want children? Which wasn't the case, but it wasn't clear. And then once we were able to just, I think, really share what was going on, and once clarity was there, I realized after that, I felt a lot of relief, actually, because it was clear. So, okay, it's clear that there are things we can work on. And even if I am a yes for this life decision, as long as my wife is not a yes yet, then as a couple, we're not ready yet. It's not I'm ready, someone else not ready. Then as a couple, we're not ready yet. So as a couple, including me, we're still working on getting to the point of being ready. So yeah, so so now it's a situation where it comes up again, but it's brought a lot more intentionality into the conversation. It's not just something that comes up and then takes us by surprise and we'll explode over it, but we kind of know that, okay, this is something that will take intentional effort to work on. And I guess in that sense, putting it in the context of the 5 virtues, it's, yeah, honesty and courage have allowed us to have that sort of conversation. And it was uncomfortable to have in the beginning. And I don't know, I mean, you were shouting at me that when we had the conversation, right?
Shouting.
Yeah, we had this conversation. We were at the seaside with my family actually for vacation, right? And I brought up the conversation, and then I thought this was all about me. You shouted at me, "This is not about you. This is about me." And and so it was confronting conversation, but it resulted in a lot more clarity for both of us. And that allowed us to, okay, now we can bring this conversation back up every now and then to check in with each other, where we at and what's our next step to figure out. And you started reading a book, right? And we're kind of figuring out, okay, how to not only wait, but also what does integrity as a couple look like for us in this scenario? So how can we intentionally make effort kind of to progress, to grow and move forward? And so I think that's accountability, like between each other. We can bring this topic up again and talk about it. That's for us, I think, overarching what this conversation and also this preparing for this podcast has brought up is how do we approach integrity as a couple? What does that look like? Yeah, practicing all these other virtues is what it looks like, that we remind ourselves of the original commitment and also of the of the vision and commitment that we had created for our relationship and for our blessing. And just another example of that is, I think last year we started at the beginning of the year doing like a annual life vision meeting, annual planning meeting, and going over our vision again. And so that's helped us to bring intentionality, I think, into a couple, and also, stay accountable, I think, to our vision towards each other, and keep integrity of our couple at the center.
Yeah.
So, okay, I know there's a bunch of things you just
Yeah.
mentioned. We're still on the first question, but
Yeah, but it's a real topic for you, and thank you for sharing that, because I feel like every couple goes through a specific topic that one person is then really confused and doesn't know how to share that or cannot put it in the words so that oneself can understand it and also explain it to the other person that also has to understand.
So then shouting helps, right?
In the pillow.
But I really liked how when you described the process of the topic was brought up the first time and there were sudden emotions that were uncomfortable, and then how to process those and how to communicate those, and then it was a bit rough, and Andy thought it was about him then, and then it wasn't. And while you were sharing that, it really, from looking or just hearing it, it sounds like, oh yeah, what a messy situation, which is very relatable. We all have those. But then like the minutes went on, and I was just like checking all those 5 virtues, and you just went through all of those, like combing through them, like even having grace towards your partner for like understanding. Andy, you had understanding for Karen that she just wasn't ready, and that there was like the topic hasn't come up for 3 years apparently, right? So it was she got taken by surprise, right? So I just felt because when we started this conversation, I thought, okay, these are very separate virtues, and they're very distinct in like certain parts of life, like accountability in work, for example, or courage also in maybe work environment. And yeah, this just felt like, okay, no, actually this can happen in like 5 minutes within like the right situation. You have to like go through all of these and navigate.
Right.
And I just felt that it was really a great example, and thank you for that. Yeah, for that story.
Yeah, we had, preparing for this, there were quite a few questions where we thought, oh, which virtue? And our answer, well, I think it's all of them, like, because they're all connected.
Yeah, it was hard to like be like, this
to
is that,
pinpoint
this
it
is
on
the
one end.
like compartmentalized. It was kind of hard, I guess. Yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, even in that example, yeah, I think Daria mentioned, but like sometimes you don't know, in a conversation or argument, when you're kind of yelling and stuff, like sometimes you don't know what you are experiencing until you kind of like share it with your partner. Like I don't really shout, like I don't know how it will make it sound, but I don't shout really at all. I mean, right? Like, I usually don't like shout in conversations or even arguments. We're not like explosive type. I think like personality wise, we're like peacemakers. So we're kind of, trying to uphold the peace, and we're very neutral. Like we both know Hainu, like we know how to talk about, like, I feel like this and I felt hurt. Like, so we know how to do that. But yeah, it was also caught me off guard when I was shouting, I guess. So it means it was really, yeah, meaningful, or something was there, which I didn't realize before. And so, yeah, I was grateful that Andy, he didn't like, I mean, there was some arguments. Yeah. But then afterwards, yeah, he didn't take it like personally that I was like yelling or something and raising my voice. But yeah, we're both kind of processing this new situation together. Like we're facing this situation together rather than like, oh, it's a you problem and, you're the problem here. So fix it. Like it didn't feel like that afterwards. And then, yeah, we would intentionally sit and talk about it So yeah, I feel like it was helpful to have grace when talking about the topic, because it's like, yeah, he knows that I'm still trying to understand, like, why am I feeling so like heated about this topic? Well, I don't know sometimes. So like, it's just coming up in the conversation, like how I'm feeling about it, and I'm realizing as I'm sharing. Um, yeah, yeah.
I think that's very common. At least I feel like it's, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like with men, they kind of, in their head, they already know kind of where they stand. But I feel like for women, it's really important to them to share, and then they can become more clear about where they are with the
Opinion.
opinion or standpoint, or yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes, I don't know, for me as well, sometimes it just helps to share just what's going on, and I don't need like your feedback. I just need like some
Yeah.
things to have, like, you know, process what I'm thinking. You know?
Mhm.
Because sometimes, yeah, if you try to give me advice and then I'm just like, no, 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 like that's not, no, 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 like that's not what I need to hear. But then later you can say the same thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. So I think sometimes it's true, yeah. But it's also true for you sometimes. I feel like you also need some time just to express.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a man or woman thing. Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to the virtues, is there a virtue that once you knew we wanted to talk about this, and you thought about it more, was there a virtue that you realized has been not an easy one for you to live by in your marriage?
the one that we mentioned is, I mean, the one that came up for me was accountability. And the way it came up for me was there was a lot of accountability preparing for the blessing, right? A lot of being in touch with mentors and a lot of preparation. And then within the couple, last year, for example, I realized at some point that, yeah, I mean, I'm working for High Noon, so I'm constantly in touch with people who have been my mentors, and we're constantly talking about these kind of topics. But I haven't had a direct mentorship relationship, right? Or someone to actually check in about, this is how our couple life is going. This is how, so I noticed that was lacking in a way, like personal accountability in that sense, or personal mentorship that would help me develop as a person very intentionally and proactively, which then in turn that benefits the couple. And so towards the end of last year, I did a training program, and then I asked an older brother to be my mentor again, or accountability partner for that time. And I felt so alive during that time, because I felt like, oh, I'm growing really quickly. Because it was a training program, right? And it's week by week, I can see how I'm growing. It's very feasible. Whereas if a year just kind of goes by sometimes and it's very routine, then growth feels more like a year to year thing. And then when it's really quick and with accountability and mentorship, it felt like a week by week thing. I could observe the growth week by week instead of year by year, right? It just feels I'm experiencing a year within a week kind of experience. So that part, I feel like we're still figuring out sometimes as a couple. How much do we invite others in to hold us accountable, right? As a couple, how much do I have older husbands, for example, to learn from and hold me accountable, or learn from, versus which part of this is, this remains within a couple for us to figure out with each other. What's the balance between like our private life and then growing community or having accountability as a couple? And that part, I think we're still figuring out who to learn from, who to reach out to. And we have our people, but how intentionally and proactively do we do it? What would you say?
Yeah. I don't know if, I guess it's related, but also how to keep each other accountable for what we say we're going to do. Like, sometimes I don't know if you guys have like a advice or some points about it, but like accountability versus nagging. Because like sometimes we say, oh yeah, we're gonna wake up early and we're gonna go to the gym. But then like it's really, I mean, Andy, he tends to stay up later and read book, or he works late anyway. So then we don't, or he doesn't wake up early enough to be able to go to the gym, for example. So then I'm like, Andy, like it's time to wake up. And then, yeah. And then, if that happens every day, I'm like, well, I'm not your mom. Like if I want, I'm going to wake up by myself and like go to the gym by myself, I guess. But yeah, what's like accountability in a partnership? Like, I don't want to be nagging and, I'm not your reminder app or something. So yeah, like that's something that I would have like I don't know, questioning about, I guess, these days. Yeah, it's irrelevant
I
here.
can relate to that though.
Yeah.
Like having a plan, I was like, okay, it's the rest like really silly with, for example, putting dishes away after breakfast. For example, sometimes I don't have the time to do it right now because I need to go somewhere. And then I come back and it's like, everything is still the same as we would have just finished breakfast like 2 hours ago, or like very few little things. And then I'm getting us like really frustrated. I was like, also, like, I'm not your mom cleaning behind of you, It's like, what the heck? So I usually start on like asking, how would you like me to remind you?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you like me to remind you on, putting the dishes
put it
away,
away, yeah.
or waking up earlier, or, something else,
Yeah.
And then because I'm getting frustrated when I see that it's not done, or I'm asking, okay, can you do it in the next 5 minutes? That he's like, oh yeah, he's gonna put them away, but it can put them away can mean like in 2 hours, but what I mean is like in the next 2 minutes. So, okay, maybe you can do it in the next 5 minutes.
I feel it's a big issue still with you.
No, I'm still sometimes annoyed, but I'm I don't care so much anymore.
I'm hoping for some grace now.
I usually do have more.
You do have more. Usually in that moment, she does have a lot of grace. Yeah.
But I guess in this way, where it's then difficult to keep being accountable, is like, okay, what is then the priority actually? So what I share then, for example, with the dishes, like, okay, I feel like I need to do that all, and I need you as my partner in that. So can you do that, please, with me together? And then it's this is where I felt like also in everything else, like usually in the household.
Disclaimer: she doesn't do all the dishes.
No.
Just to mention
But I'm usually put
it
them away.
sounds like it's.
I'm
I
usually
have
put
to-
them away. If someone is cleaning the kitchen, it's mostly you, because I leave a mess after cooking.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
No. But like,
What's your point?
my point is like how I ask you something to do. For example, it goes on doing house chores, and then ask him, okay, which one would you like to do for, like, what chore would you like to do? Is it the kitchen? Is it the bathroom? Is it, and then he can choose, and then he does it because he chose it, not because I told him to. So that I think works actually pretty well, right?
Works well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess sometime like it helps to have like a time frame. Like, okay, like in this time, let's say I'm gonna remind you like 1 time or maybe 2 times. And then if it's like not done, then like I have to be okay just to like leave it. Like, okay, if he's choosing to sleep in, I can, we talked about, okay, I'll remind you like 2 times. But then if you still don't wake up, then I just need to like let it go and like be okay, with not that he's still sleeping, like not just forget about it. Yeah. I guess sometimes I still like have to let it go. Because yeah, also with like cleaning, like, you said you would clean this. I usually do the cooking and stuff, and then Andy will do the dishes.
Mhm.
And then sometime it's still like very, very late, but Andy will do the dishes like right before he brushes his teeth or something, for example. And like now I know that that's what you do and that's what you prefer. So I just kind of forget about the dishes. Like I try not to get bothered that they're still there or something. Because you promise you will do it. So yeah, I guess it's a way of being accountable to a certain extent, like just having a time frame for myself, like a timestamp, like, okay, 10 minutes, I can bother you about it, but then after that, I just forget about it. I guess.
Yeah. I noticed also, like, okay, why does it actually bother me so much when
Yeah,
we
why
do
does it
something?
bother you if breakfast is still on the table? Let's have a session about that.
Should I really share that now?
No. Okay. Why are we talking about chores? We were
Because it was about accountability.
okay.
We're drifting about a few things and like
Yeah.
how they apply in our relationships.
Yeah. So the next question in High Noon fashion is about sexuality, and I wanted to know if any of the 5 virtues, which would be honesty, grace, integrity, accountability, and courage, how do one of those, or all, apply to your sexual life at the moment?
Oh, at the moment.
I mean, you had the example to share.
Well, we've thought about this in preparation, and we thought that, I mean, yeah, in our sexual life, the 5 virtues have helped us a lot to approach a sexual life in a very intentional way. And so, for example, we try to make sure that we have conversations about sexuality and sex, and that we don't leave things unclear. And so how that looks like is, yeah, we'd ask each other. So, and I guess that's honesty, accountability in terms of the virtues, but asking each other how we liked lovemaking session. Was there something that we liked specifically? Was there something that we didn't like specifically, and that we can improve on the next time? And we have had conversations asking each other, are there any desires or wishes or fantasies that we have, right? And can we talk about that? And then opening that conversation, is there, something on the other person's side and so that part, I always thought, requires a lot of courage, because it's a very intimate and very personal thing, right? Like your desires and what you might want in sex life, in lovemaking, and it's something that can be rejected, right? It's making myself vulnerable in the way that, well, what if my spouse thinks that's weird and rejects that? And so I think we've tried always to approach that very intentionally, that we can share that with each other and then trust each other that, okay, that we'll try to give. And again, I think it applies like to other conversations where we give to each other understanding, and then be open to explore as well, and then see, is it things that we can enjoy with each other, and it creates playfulness. Can they be playful? Can they be uplifting for each other? Or where it don't work for us and we'll drop them. But that is a practice, yeah, to be honest with each other about that, and then we can engage with each other based on what we've shared. And then, I mean, that has built a lot of trust, I think, between us, because I can share, the most intimate parts of myself with you, and I know that you don't reject them, or you won't expose them as, there's no negative reaction to that. It's something we can talk about and we can figure out together, and it's part of our exploration. I think what it's also brought up is a question for us. Well, what does sacred and holy sexuality really look like, from a place of exploring and kind of sharing with each other, and also trying new things? What kind of parts of sexuality do we want to nurture more in the long term, and which parts crystallize as, yeah, this is something we want to keep, and that's really and what parts are, okay, we kind of tried or explored, but it doesn't work anymore, or, okay, the desire has changed, and we'll move on.
Yeah, like for example, if Andy suggests, "Oh, do you want to try like this or something?" and then I don't react like, "Whoa, that's some weird stuff you're thinking," like what you want. Like, I think if I responded that way, it would close like Andy off from sharing because that's what is making it intimate, right? Is like you can share whatever is like on your mind. And it's not like, oh, we must try this or something, but it's like oh, we can try something new. And then just having an open mindset, like, yeah, we can try something new. Yeah, why not? And then just sharing afterwards, was it, yeah, for both of us something enjoyable or not? And if not, then we can kind of, put it to the side and yeah, maybe we can revisit it at some point. But I guess at the moment it doesn't work, something like that. So, but yeah, I appreciate that it's keeping it fresh, like our sexual relationship, because over time, I mean, it can be kind of boring doing the same things all the time. But yeah, also like having different settings, like going to have like weekly dates, but in then like different settings. Sometime we had dates like with friends. Yeah. And then, yeah, just kind of exploring different ways of rekindling like intimacy, sometimes like sexual, but sometimes also just like, yeah, bringing us closer spiritually. Yeah. Spiritually, not question mark. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I can relate a lot with the things both of you said. Like this honesty and also courage to talk with each other. And what came up for us because both of us have struggled with porn and masturbation, also in the blessing as well. So many people, especially just guys, but I had also a few sisters that said, yeah, as soon as I'm blessed, I don't think that I'm struggling with porn anymore, or masturbation or something like that. But that's not true. And so sometimes we notice when we are lovemaking and then actually wandering off with the thoughts of like, oh, actually, I still have to do the laundry or, something like being not in the moment, thinking about something completely different. It's like, oh, actually, I want to be here. And then I was like, okay, I need to keep my eyes open. Otherwise, I'm gonna, wander off again with some other thoughts. And then also, thinking of things that maybe stimulate more and then saying that again. I was like, actually, honey, I was thinking about something I didn't want to think about so that I'm able to come. And even though we're wandering off, but then we share that, and that created again this connection, even though we're maybe at the act, maybe somehow spiritually, somehow with the thoughts not connected, but then after is being honest about it and having the courage to share that and giving each other grace for that we were open about it. It helped us to actually reconnect, because often it doesn't happen often, but sometimes, and then maybe there's some guilt or feeling weird or disconnected, and that creates the bridge between it. That is something that we noticed with the virtues on how we practice them, and especially when there is not going so well.
Right.
And the key point seems to be, listening to you guys, is to having the willingness to talk about it, to talk and to listen. When it comes to sexuality, it seems very important to always talk and always, even though you don't want to change anything, still talking about like, is this already enough for you? Like the way it is since the last weeks and months, like, is there anything new you want to explore, or shall we just continue? Like, right. Like if no, it seems like if there's some sort of shame around talking about the sexual experience, it could be really hard to,
Create connection.
yeah, but to advance, I guess, to advance to the next deeper level of that experience, of that part of life.
Yeah, the 5 virtues have shown up in so many different areas of our relationship and our life. So reminding ourselves of them and practicing them individually and as a couple, they've helped us to grow more intimate as a couple. Yeah, ultimately. So yeah, whatever framework it is, I think with these 5 virtues, or having some sort of values and virtues as a couple that a couple can decide on together, is very helpful. It gives a direction and something to measure, right? measure ourselves at. It's like, oh, how much have we been able to practice this? In that sense, yeah, upholding our own integrity as a couple.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, it was interesting here to hear like a response about how we kind of used the five virtues. Like I didn't realize, oh yeah, we're kind of like using them together. I mean, they kind of do work together, like accountability and integrity. Like if I want to be a person of integrity in our couple, then sometimes I need accountability, or it takes courage to be honest in our relationship, and to also to be the one to give forgiveness or grace. Like it's all, if I think about it, it's pretty connected. Yeah, they're not like compartmentalized like virtues, but I guess they're, yeah, they seem to be working together, at least in our
Mm.
relationship, or how we've kind of processed through certain challenges. Like it helped us to, yeah, work with the virtues together in one situation.
Yeah. And they're all kind of present, even though me waiting is like, it seems so abstract for me at least. And then just talking with you about it is like, oh yeah, it's actually not abstract at all. It is implied in so many areas of life. And as I said, like it's like integrity and accountability really comes together. And then same as with honesty and grace and courage as well. So it's like it's a whole, how to say?
It's a value set. That's what we call it.
Yeah, values. Like yeah, the values that we have in our relationship and in our blessing, and practice them as well. And I feel like I became more aware of them through working in High Noon, because I felt like accountability in being integral and courage is something I've been very challenged in. And I see how that also had a good impact in our relationship, because I wanted to be that also more in our relationship, not just in work itself, but also in our relationship as well. And so I felt that in this way, Heinun has created a higher standard for myself on what I want to uphold myself to in our relationship. So for that, I'm really grateful for Heinun, for their organization, and also for my mentors and the people I work with as well. So thanks, Andy.
Yeah, that's true. Having a network, a community, is very helpful. Yeah, not existing as an island, as a couple.
Yeah. 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 Thank you so much for that very interesting conversation. Like bringing really to light that it's nothing abstract, but actually something very practical, and where we can actually really translate it very easily into our daily life, and see, okay, where it is easier and where it's harder to practice them. And
Yeah, good examples to show how important it is to live by these virtues. So I think that is valuable and the thing we wanted to get across today. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you
for
for
having us.
having us. Yeah.
all right, then have a good rest of your day, and see you hopefully sometime for another topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
been on it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the best. Bye.
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 Bye.